Hello, welcome back to the Best Year Yet workshops. This is workshop 3, where we are starting to look at how we can focus. If you are joining for the first time, we are in the middle of a workshop, a 2-week workshop called Best Year Yet. And it's for artists who make 2D, 3D, any age, any stage, but people who want to make more art, make a living, who have goals and want to actually bring them to life, people who want to design their own lives. We're putting a special emphasis on money this year. So this is workshop 3. If you haven't watched the previous videos, I recommend you go back and watch those first. But if you've just found us live today, you are very welcome to stay on, and then you can sign up via the link above in the comments. So I love how Captain Autumn was here on the very beginning waiting. Hello, Captain Autumn. So I was excited as well today. I've been sat 5 minutes waiting because I'm really excited to be here with you all. I love this one. This one gets easier now. It's starting to get exciting. But I want to reflect back so far on what we have covered. And this is a real kind of condensed recap because we have covered a lot. So in a nutshell, we have reflected back and really started to bring to the surface of what we want to leave behind, bring forwards. We have created mind maps, thinking about the different buckets or different parts of our lives. For example, money, personal, art, work, and drilling in without fear on what we would like to achieve. And those can be really, really long term. They can be shorter term this year. At the moment, it's just getting all of that out of your head to be really clear and truthful to yourself in terms of, if you could design your own life, what would it look like? And we've gone through a lot actually in the workshop so far. So that is a good question to come back to. If I can design my own life in any way, what would it look like? Because as we're working through right now, the head will start taking over. So it's a good one to come back to. If I can design my own life in any way, what would it look like? And see how you feel since the beginning of the workshops as well. We've started to become more self-aware. This is a big one. We are noticing, are we putting barriers up because we don't truly believe that we can do something, or on paper something isn't possible? Are we missing opportunities because we are just blocking ourselves off from things being out there? We are thinking about and being conscious of the way we think and react to situations. We've started to get clear on our finances, looking at what's coming in and going out, so we know where, if this is for people who want to focus on money, you don't have to, but looking at what is it that we need to earn and crunching numbers around what do I need to sell and what could I sell. And you don't have to have all the answers right now, but we've started to understand that. And then I've asked you to whittle this down to 1 to 3 big goals for the year, so that they become the non-negotiable that you start to plan into your calendar. And in this workshop, we'll start to talk about what happens when you have more than 1 to 3 goals, because I'm sure you do. I'm sure there's other little, maybe little goals, other big goals, and you're wondering how they can fit in as well. And then taking that one goal at a time, we're asking ourselves, what does that goal mean? Why do we want that goal? How can we make that goal measurable? And measurable means adding a time scale, or how do we quantify it? How do we measure it? Is it a number? Is it the amount? And then figuring out what the steps are to make that goal happen. So remember here, we're not aiming for perfection. We are aiming for done is better than perfect. Don't feel like you have to do every single part of Best Year Yet to get results. If you do a small part, you will make progress. I want to read some messages from people who are taking part, because I love this bit, because we can learn from each other and it gets exciting when we start to see the progress. Liliana, is it Liliana or Liliana? I'm not sure. I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. I just watched the replay. Fantastic. 2 things I learned. 1, I'm saying I don't have time. but it is looking at how I'm using my time. That's such a big one. 2, admitting that money is a big thing for me, both positive and negative. That one, I used to say all the time, I don't have time, I don't have time, I don't have time. And it got to the point where I realized I said it so much that if I stopped saying I didn't have time, I'd probably have an extra 20 minutes a day. And I never say it now. I never say it. I wrote it on a board once that I have time. I have the same time as everyone else. We all have 24 hours in a day. It's what we do with it. Like you are saying, it's such an amazing realization. Linda says this workshop is helping me to realistically break down the important steps in manageable chunks. Yes, really appreciate this. And Jazz to continue. Wonderful. Lots of this is review, but necessary as I'd gotten off track and needed this kind of focus support. Awesome. Ruth says, this is my second time doing Best Year Yet, and it's a great follow-up from having done the 7 keys. That's another course that I teach. My word is, oh gosh, unencumbered. I had to stop there, which gives freedom, which brings joy. Wow, I'm going to relook at my mind maps from last year and see if there's anything to add or take away. Brilliant idea. And what are my top 3 priorities for the year? So good to be here with you all. Oh, thank you for that one. Becky says, my breakthrough was realizing the scale of my ambitions. My word is connection. Dorian, hello. Thank you so much for these, but most importantly for your enthusiasm. Oh, thank you. I just watched the first episode of Best Year Yet, which I stumbled upon. I'm so glad you did. And all I can say is, wow, and thank you. I'm so fortunate to have found this. Oh, you're so, so welcome. Oh, and then Dorian goes on to say, social media seems to be full of junk. So aside from a few art sites, I avoid most of it, but I'm looking forward to our time together. Wonderful. Johnny Darko, hello. Just wanted to say a big thank you for these wonderful workshops. I'm impressed and so surprised just at how much they've helped me already, especially the prep work and workshop 1. They've brought clarity, direction, and now I'm motivated immensely. Thank you. Oh, just honestly, I get goosebumps when I read those messages. And that's why I love doing this, to see the transformation in people. And if you're not having the transformations yet, please do stick with it. It works. Usually you're probably trying to think about too many elements in one go. If that's you, bring it back one step at a time. What is the one step? Go to the beginning and start there. So in this workshop, I've got great news for you all. Amazing news. You've done the hard work. So the first 2 workshops and the prep, that's where the heavy lifting is. And you've done it. It all gets so much lighter, and I would say more fun as well. I'm not a big planner. I am now. I never used to be, but I love this part that we're going into now. So what we're going to start to do is look at the goals already that you've pulled to the surface, that you've started to, put maybe deadlines on your calendar or where you'd maybe see them fitting into that year. We're going to start now looking at monthly, weekly, daily. So we are kind of sieving. We're going big top level year now to what we have to do every day and every week and every month to make these goals happen. I love this bit because this for me is the game changer in how I have got United Art Space off the ground. It's how I'm able to juggle the children and running the business and all the things in my life is from this part. If I didn't have this now, I would be an absolute mess. And when I lose track of this, I am a mess. So this is where we're actually starting to put things into place to make this happen. So you might have new goals that you've never considered before, or new ideas of the way you want to live your life. And so brushing our teeth, for example, we've created the habit. And what we're doing here with our goals now is creating habits and routine. And I know it sounds boring, but if you want to design your own life and you have chosen these goals, this is worth creating habits like brushing your teeth. I promise you, it's not, because sometimes now you think, oh, this is the bit I don't want to do. I don't want routine. I want to, I want to do what I want to do. But I promise you, if you want to design your own life, this is crucial. And that's the way you've got to think about it. By having this structure, you are designing your own life. It's powerful stuff. So, And I just want to say on the back of that, actually, I just saw a little note to remind myself to say this about, my word is freedom. So sometimes this feels so contradictory because I want freedom in my life. It's massive. That's one of my big drivers. Comes from childhood and a lot of pain from my past. So freedom is my big, big word. And so I used to avoid routine, but actually having this routine and structure in place gives me freedom. Because what we're doing here is we're creating a kind of structure for the rest of the year or even for the next 90 days that will eliminate thinking time. And it's our safety net. We'll go there and go, oh, yeah, this is what I need to do. So by having that in place, I do have more freedom because I'm more in control of my life. So I would just say that as I go through all of this as well, I do plan, and you might think this is quite meticulous, and it is in some regards, but sometimes I just chuck all of this out the window. And, I might have carved out Mondays to work on a particular goal. And then I might get to that Monday and I might just choose, I'm just not going to do anything today. I'm going to stay in my pajamas. That's my decision. That goes back to the freedom thing, and you can chuck all of this out the window on certain days. You don't have to put a chain and ball on your ankle. The whole point of this is you to design your own life. But what we're going to do by creating this structure now is to enable also you to continue throughout the rest of the year. Because hold your hand up or let me know in the comments now because I won't be able to see you, of course. But who has set goals in January and by March you've completely forgotten what the goals were? I do this even on a weekly basis. I set a goal on a Monday and I can guarantee by Thursday I have forgotten what it was. So by creating this structure that I'm going to share with you in a minute, you will start to reduce overwhelm, but you'll also remember what it is and where you're going. That flag in the ground, by doing this right now, it's bringing you back to that all the time. Because when this workshop finishes, life will take over. Things will happen. Life will throw curveballs. And I can guarantee that if you don't put this into place, you will forget. You'll go off track and off piece, and you'll go, God, remember that workshop I did in January? What was my goal again? I've lost it. So we don't want any of you here, and I don't want to plant the seed and then for us to walk away, life take over, and we never go back to that seed again. And it's left on the kitchen windowsill and it could develop into something, but we've let life take over. We want to keep going back to that seed and giving it a little bit of water and waiting to see when it sprouts and keep attending to it. And that is the same with the goals. So what we start to do now is what I call habit tracking and planning on a more granular level in terms of the monthly, weekly, daily. So taking the top 3 goals, first of all, and working one goal at a time, it's about now thinking, what do I need to have to make this goal happen? And how often do I want to work on this? Also factoring in non-negotiable time to make these things happen on your calendar. And I always print out the next 3 months calendar and I take my goal and I start to actually put time in on the calendar of when I'm going to work towards it. And it's non-negotiable. And by that, I mean, this is how I like to think about it. If we have a job where we're employed and we're expected to turn up for that job, if Aunt Mildred phoned up and said, Michelle, the grass is getting really long. I need you to come round and cut the grass. I wouldn't phone in my job and say, hi, I can't come in today. I've got to go and cut the grass for my auntie. I would say, sorry, Aunt Mildred, I've got to go to work, but I'll come round at the weekend when I've got some time. And this is how I think now with my goals. You are committing to yourself. And if you ask yourself, if I was attending a job here, would I say yes or no to this person? Because quite often we can get really sidetracked with other people's demands on us and life taking over. And this is a really good way of just checking in with yourself, saying, right, if I push this goal away, would I do this if I was turning up for a job? And it's a good one. And it tests whether it should be a yes or a no, because you are committing to yourself. You have said that this is one of my most important goals. This is important to me because this is me designing my own life. I'm not being selfish. I'm owning my life here. This is going to make me happy. And when I'm happy, everyone else around me is happy. So, excuse me. So let me share the book as an example, because the book is, I'm laughing now because I've sat here for Best Year Yet for the last 3 years and said the book is my number one. And then I've let Aunt Mildred, not the real Aunt Mildred, take over. I have. And I think there's lots of issues in my brain around that. I'm bringing those to the surface. I know. This year is the year. Here we go. I'm saying it out loud. This year is the year. And it makes me feel a bit sick when I say it. But anyway, so what I start to do now is write the book. The book is one of my big 3 this year. Okay, so here's how I'm tackling it, and I just want to share in case it helps. I know my next step because I've spent 3 years working on this goal. I'm very clear on my steps. So I know I've got to finish the proposal. So what I do now is I've set myself a deadline. And, I said split your year into quarters. So I'll just show you here really quickly. This is one of my mind maps. So which way am I going here? Here we go. So this is one of my mind maps. So this is one of my work ones. And so one of my goals was the hub. I know the book. I know I want to write the book. I can envisage what that actually means. But the hub, I was like, my goal is the hub. The hub. I want to focus on the hub. And again, it was like saying I want to travel. And I was like, what does focusing on the hub actually mean? And so I've broken down now the steps of what I mean by focusing on the hub this year, the way I want to add and improve. And so that's in a really crude way, the task list, and then each of these will have task lists underneath them. But what I will start to do is plan quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4. That I haven't done it yet. I'm right in the middle of doing my Best Year Yet. But I will start to put deadlines in, like in quarter 1, the proposal and 3 chapters need to be finished. In quarter 2, and I will break the book down. I know how many chapters there will be in the book. And I will now start breaking down the chapters, and I will give myself deadlines like January, February, March, right, proposal done. April, May, June, 4 more chapters, and then I will literally bring it back then to carving out the time on my calendar to make it happen. So, I mean, this is getting very granular now, but I kind of know how long it takes me to write a certain amount of words. So I kind of know now how long it's going to take me to write 10,000 words. And I can factor that in and go, Tuesday morning, I'm going to be writing 30,000 words that morning or whatever it is. And I didn't know this, 3 years ago. I had no clue. I had no clue how long it'd take me to write or what the steps were or how many chapters there were going to be. So I only know this now from picking at this goal and chipping away. So what I then do is, and those who've signed up for the upgrade and hub members, you have access to these resources. But what I do then is I create a weekly planner. And so I know on a Tuesday, that will be my book writing day. I will not plan anything and I will not say yes to anyone on a Tuesday because that is my book writing day. And that's final. That is non-negotiable. Unless something is really urgent, I will say no. No one can get in my diary. I will not plan anything. Unless it's fun and it catches my attention. No, I'm joking. But as much as possible, I will say no. And then Fridays, it will be a book writing day as well. And then what I'm going to do is I will once a month have a book writing retreat. So on a weekend, I'm going to block out a weekend and I will have a book writing retreat. And can you see how I've changed the language of that to a book writing retreat? Because I play tricks on myself. All of a sudden, it doesn't sound like work. It sounds like something exciting. So you have to do this with your brain. I do. So Going back then, so I have this habit tracker, which is the days of the week. So these are where I start to plan there's themes for the days. And then I've got this other habit tracker, which is the daily, weekly, monthly. So I put on here book writing retreat on the monthly. I'm just taking this one. There's other things written on there, and I'll talk about what else is written on there in a minute. But I'm just taking this one goal, this book writing for now, to show you how I structure this and plan so I actually make it happen. What I then do is I will go to the yearly one that's kind of falling apart already. I will start to write on here, and I haven't done yet, but I will start to write in the weekends that I will have my book writing retreats, and I will plan them out for the whole year. And I will do that now, because then they're in the diary. I will make them happen. They're non-negotiable. If someone then asks me, are you free that weekend? No, I'm not. I'm on a book writing retreat with myself. So I will do that. I will write these on the year. And the reason I write them on the year is because then when you start to plan your time and what the other goals that are coming up, you start to see whether you're being realistic or not. Like, I have other goals I'm going to talk about in a minute. And when you start to see the book writing retreats coming up and the time that I factored in, there's not much, time left, because I have children. I need to spend weekends with them. So this is where it's really good for, understanding your time. So when you come up with these goals, thinking about what you need to do, have is an important one to remember as well, because now I'm thinking about that with the book. I'm thinking, if I go on, this book writing retreat, where am I going to do this? Am I going to do it at home? Am I going to go away? So I've got to really think about how I will be in flow writing, and where this time, when I've carved out this book writing time, where will that be? Now, I can tell you on a Tuesday, I will spend most of the day in the pub, because there is a beautiful pub near my children's school. It's gorgeous. And I go there and work, and I just drink, I buy a couple of teas, and they have this really cheap little lunch that I can buy. And I make it last, and they don't mind. I'm there usually all day. And so I know that Tuesdays I'll likely be there, and then I can go and do the school pickup. So can you see I'm starting to think about location, but also if I want to achieve this, I know that sitting here trying to write a book is never going to happen. I cannot sit in my own house with the silent to-do list, which is the stuff around you that isn't on the to-do list that needs doing, like picking up, there's an old Christmas card on the floor, and there's stuff everywhere. There's stuff all over the table that needs sorting from holidays. All of that weighing me down. So I go and sit in the pub, and I can just focus. And I walk in there, and I'm like, right, let's do this. There's no washing around me. There's no rubbish. So environment is a really big one for me, to change my environment. I've done this for years. I have sometimes asked people if I can go and stay at their house. I'm quite cheeky. I have good friends that will let me stay, especially in London. I have my best friend lives in London, and I'll often stay at her house, and then I'll go to cafes in London. It's just to be somewhere different is really invigorating for me, especially being creative. So thinking about that in terms of your goal as well is really helpful. Like, is there anything that I can do to enhance this actually happening? And again, this is where you might start to create habits for yourself, because and creating a safety net alongside this. For example, if you've got art making every week on here or daily, you might have to start asking yourself, okay, if I want to make art on a daily practice, what do I need to make that happen? Well, I need materials on hand. And it's likely that I'll probably need some materials that I can carry around with me. Or it might be that maybe you don't. Maybe you're going to set up a space in your dining room or a space in your home where you have, the space to apply this on a daily basis. So it's starting to think about, what do I need to bring this to life, so that when I sit down on a daily basis, I've got everything that I need. And thinking about these habits, I just wanted to share, going back to those opportunities again as well, around sometimes the blocks we put in front of ourselves. So for me, leaving the house, leaving the kids, trying to find somewhere to work. I can't rent somewhere, and all these obstacles that we put in our way. Sometimes if you just set the intention that I really would love a studio this year, or I would really love to go on holiday. I'm going to share a story that's going to blow your mind in a second. Just by planting the seed and to keep returning to it and keep talking about it, you just sometimes never know what is going to come your way. And I have so many stories that I can share very, very quickly, because I could sit here and rabbit on for an hour about this. But one, I remember my friend Sharon saying to me years ago that she would like a studio space but couldn't afford the rent. And, on paper, it wasn't really looking possible. Now, this was years ago. And then she found a space that was heavily subsidized. And to cut a very long story short, Sharon then rented most of the space out to other people, has her own space, which covers the costs. So do you see, sometimes there's always ways around that we just can't plan in advance for. There was another one for me around, that's happened to me in the past, where I've been given free studio space. Now, I spoke last week about holidays, and I said that I likely won't get a holiday this year when I'm looking on paper at what I need to spend because I'm moving house. But I was thinking to myself, but how could I still have a holiday? I'm going to just throw it out there. This is no word of a lie. I can't even believe it. I'm going to say this now. It sounds like I'm making it up, but I promise I'm not. A friend of mine who has not watched these workshops, I guarantee she hasn't watched these workshops, but she messaged me yesterday and said, I wondered if you wanted to come on holiday with me. It's all paid for. I won't share the personal side. There's something happened in the family. And so it's all paid for, and we just need someone to fill the space, I swear. And I'm like, no way. So these crazy things happen. So I want you to, keep that excitement of things happening, because honestly, I have so many stories to share, and it can't be a coincidence. It's nuts. However, whatever happens, anyway, I don't care. It happens, and it's funny. So I want you to let me know over the year if you have any of these strange occurrences. So anyway, let's get back now to, if you have more goals, what happens next? So I have in my book, I have some other mind maps, and in my family one, let me read this one out. I've kind of planted the seed on my money one. I've set goals, and I roughly know what I need to do, but I'm going to work on that over the weekend, because I know that I need to just zone out on that one. But I did the home one today, and here's my home life one. Last year in January, I said that I wanted to go ice skating. I wanted to learn ice skating, and I don't even know where that came from. It was a random one that just came to me, and I was like, ice skating, why? But what ended up happening in the end was I roller skated. I ended up roller skating with my daughter, and we ended up doing that not most Saturdays, but once a month. And it's something that I really enjoy doing. And my friend Sharon comes with me, and we just love it. It's like bringing out our inner child. So I want to continue that this year. I want to continue roller skating. So that goes on my monthly one. So every month, where is it? Here. I'm going to go roller skating. And what will I do? I'm going to start putting it in the diary straight away. So I will start to pencil the dates that I will go roller skating. And I probably won't do that for the full year, but I will do it for the next 90 days. So I've got the next 90 days printed out here, and I will definitely factor in the Saturdays that we will go roller skating. Now, these aren't my top 1 to 3 set in stone, non-negotiable. These ones, if something happens, I'll move it around. But this, putting it in the diary, will make it happen. It's there, and you go, so if something crops up, you go, oh yeah, that's when I'm roller skating. So I need to move roller skating. It's not about getting rid of things. I'm still going to do it, but I need to shuffle it around. So that will go on my monthly habit tracker. And then I've also got, and you've got to think about the next steps for these as well, like you do with the goals. So I won't run through all of them, because we could be here a long time. I've got hiking twice a week. So hiking I've got on here now. So I'll be doing a hike on a Monday morning and a Friday morning. So I've put them in the diary. I will start to make them happen, because unless I do this, I just won't do it. Work will take priority, or other things will take priority always over me going up the weekend, which is a hill near me, for a hike. And bringing that goal to life. Why do I want to do that? Because it clears my head. It gives me time to myself. It's exercise. I get up there. I feel alive. I'm connected with nature. So I need to bring that goal to life and remind myself why it's so important, because I do push it down to the bottom of the list. And then I haven't quite finished this yet, but then there's yoga. So I'm going to start going to yoga just twice a month on a Tuesday, and I put that in there, and the dates again go in the diary. So I'm spending this time now putting things in the diary. And I did this last year with the hiking and all my planning, and that's how I made it happen. And so take one thing at a time. And what happens when you start to do this as well is you'll start to see whether you're being realistic. So every month I want to do this, and I want to speak, and I want to go on a writing retreat, and I want to do this, and I want to do that. And then you look at it and you go, so when you put it in your diary, is this actually achievable? Am I piling too much on my plate? Because the other thing is, you don't want to pile too much on. It's best to do a small amount. And if that goes well, then add something else, because otherwise you end up stressed out. You put pressure on yourself, and you've got this list, and you're going, oh, I didn't do this, and now I feel like a rubbish person because I'm not, committing to my goals. You don't want to feel that way. They should feel fun, light. So don't overfill. And I'm a fine one to say this. I know that I'm overfilling. It's almost like I'm talking to myself here. So have I got anything else to say on that one? Yes, I do. So also what I've started to do is have themes for the days as well. So a Monday for me is an admin day. That's when I catch up on my admin. I look at my finances, record my podcast episode, looking at social media planning, checking with the team, things like that. That all happens on a Monday. Tuesday's book writing. Tuesday is my creativity day. It's where I carve out the day for me to outpour creative stuff. Wednesdays is meetings and then development work for the hub. Thursdays is the day I'm inside the hub. So I have these themes. It doesn't mean that I can't do anything else on those days, but that's, my focus. And so I like to map that out. So I've got a rough idea of what I'm focusing on. And sometimes it goes out the window. The other thing as you're doing this as well is you can put times next to it. So I've just started to do Duolingo, the Spanish app, and I'm doing that with my children. And we're just doing 3 minutes a day. And that goes in on the daily one, and 3 minutes. And we're trying to now figure out a time. So when they finish school, we'll quickly go on Duolingo. And again, it's like brushing your teeth. If you can do something at the same time every day, or this, it will ingrain as a habit. And then eventually you take it off the habit tracker once you've managed to keep it going. It comes off because you don't have to put brushing your teeth on there, because that's just what you do. So this is for anything that you want to implement, so that you can start to remind yourself, and you'll pin this up on the wall to remind yourself, and you need to put it somewhere where you see it every day. So the other thing I want to touch on is your word for the year. If you've chosen a word for the year, is bringing that word to life at this moment, thinking about what your word means. What does it actually mean? What do I need to be, do, have to bring that word to life? And I like to check in at this point with that word. I still haven't finished. I don't know if mine is flow. I think it is. But I will know when I've done this work of really thinking, what does that word mean? It means being in flow writing my book. It means being in flow when I'm speaking on other people's platforms. I want to feel in flow this year, but I will start to think about what that means, and I'll make sure that it happens by thinking, are there any little goals, or what do I need to do to bring that to life? And I'll maybe start to weave that on here as well. So, for example, one of the things for me is the speaking. And I really am passionate about sharing my message, and I love talking, as you can probably tell. So I really feel like I know I need to get out there and talk. And I never make it happen. And there's a lot of fear around that, but also it's because I've never scheduled it. So once a month, I will now, I've put here, dance on other people's dance floors, which is a term from my friend of just being on other people's platforms. And I now need to really take action on that. It's one thing just sitting here putting this on there, but taking the action on it is the important part. We're going to talk about that in the next workshop. So, for example, I'm just going to throw some words around here. Being mindful. What does that actually mean if you've chosen that as a word? It might mean turn phones off at the dinner table, meditate. It might be spend 3 minutes being in the moment, on a walk, sitting with a flower in your hand or something. It might be journaling or having a moment of gratitude each day. So it's thinking about, if I've chosen this word, how can I bring that word to life as well? And that might bring some of these habits that you want to weave in. So if you have lots of little goals, less is more. It really is. I really do recommend not piling this up with lots of habits. Trying to really stick to a minimum will make it happen, and it will reduce the overwhelm. But if you do have quite a lot of little goals or little habits that you want to form, one of the ideas is you can have a goal jar or a task jar or a habit jar, and every month you could pull one out of that, and then you carve out some time that month to make it happen. I don't know, but try and keep this streamlined as much as possible, and just create a list somewhere else, which is the list that you can go to if you decide that that goal isn't important anymore and you do have more time. I'm going to pull this out now, because from my experience, the less you do, the more you do. It sounds like a paradox, but it really is true. The less you do, the more you do. Because we are creating that space to really focus on something. So what I recommend doing is printing the next 90 days. So you can do that with a calendar. I love to print the next 90 days, and I always work in the next 90-day chunks. So as soon as January's ended, I print out, April. So I've always got the next 3 months following me around, and I use this a lot where I'm planning. Start to think about your daily, weekly, monthly habits, and the daily tracker as well is another one that you get if you've upgraded. So that's when I then start to whittle that down to the day. So each day I get up and I decide what is my 1 to 3 that I'm doing today. So I decide in the week, like, what's the 1 to 3 this week that needs to be done, and I print a week calendar out, and then I literally every day I have 1 to 3 things that I need to do. If you have lots and lots of little bits, like I've got this building up right now, I've got to send ID off to the mortgage advisor, and I need to send off my gas and electric readings. And if you've got loads of little things, what I do is I write them all on a list, and then I carve out an hour, which is called the snag list. And in that hour, I work through the list, looking at one task at a time. So, excuse me, let me just take a drink. My throat is drying again. So if you ever at any point feel overwhelmed by this process, it's probably because you're trying to think and do too much at once. Strip it right back. Strip it right back to the smallest steps. And this is how to manage your life ongoing, is having those 1 to 3 every day, to just reduce the overwhelm as much as possible, because life is overwhelming. So remember, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So in all of this, and I want you to remember that phrase, you can do anything, but you can't do everything. So in all of this, sometimes there's this tendency to try and fill and think that if we do more, we're going to progress and we're going to achieve more, and actually shrinking things down, we can create more power going forward. So it's exciting. I like this bit. It's this bit to me is where I start to really see everything coming into place, and I start to see my year falling into place, and it's really exciting. And you can leave space, by the way, you can leave big chunks of space to say nothing is happening on these times. And I recommend you do that. Don't try and fill every part of your day to try and be productive, because that isn't productive. You need to allow time to breathe and to be still and do nothing. So the final video, workshop 4, comes out on Monday, and I'm going to share something incredible with you. So far, we have been planning and goal setting. The most important part of this process is the action you take after these workshops. So taking the action to bring these to life and making sure this does not fizzle out is the way of designing your own life, by that seed being planted to keep chipping away and returning to it. So that comes out on Monday the 16th at 11 a.m. UK time. And I'm excited because we'll also be opening enrollment to our hub membership. So you can become a member of United Art Space and access our amazing hub. So the hub is like my third baby. I can't wait to share it with you. I'll share it on Monday, but to quickly share what it is, it's an online platform that we've spent the last 6 years creating and developing. And it takes you on a roadmap. We've built a roadmap. So whatever stage you are as an artist, it will help you choose what stage you are and give you the next steps to help you get to the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. So there's a roadmap built in, and it's an online website that supports you with the steps, but you also have access to the most amazing resources that answer most questions about being an artist. So I can't wait to share that with you. And then also, I forgot to mention, we also have a community as well of hubsters. A lot of the hubsters are on with us. And so it's just an amazing platform. So I'll share that with you on Monday for anybody that wants to carry on the journey, because if you've enjoyed these workshops, you will love the hub. So I'll share that on Monday. Also next week, we have some extra sessions, some surprise sessions. I need to just take a drink again. This cough will not go. We have a boot camp session. So boot camp is where we take all of Best Year Yet and we condense it into 1 hour, which is great for those who feel left behind, or if you want to rapid fire through Best Year Yet to really get clarity on the steps that we've taken. We'll also have some extra videos next week where we'll be talking with members and sharing other people's experiences. And I'll also be releasing something on pricing as well next week. So I'll share all of that in an email with you. So I want to do a quick recap from today. Bear with me, sorry. I can feel something in my throat. So take one goal at a time. Start to really think about, what do I need to have to make sure that goal happens? And then start to consider whether you need to work on this monthly, weekly, daily. Will you start to create some themes for the days of the week? And then taking that one goal at a time, starting to work that in on your big calendar, on a planner like this, and starting to create those habits and that plan. Once you've got this in place, pin this up where you can see it every single day, so that you start to put those habits at the forefront and you make them happen and you check them off. Okay, so if you enjoyed this session, please leave me a comment below. As always, I want you to think about, what is the one thing that you've taken away from the session today? What is the one thing that you think, oh my gosh, I've just learned this, or I forgot about that, I need to implement that. always take that one thing from anything. Whenever I do a workshop, I always try and think, what's the one thing I'm going to take action on? So let me know in the comments below. I do go back and read all the comments. And remember that all of this comes down next Thursday, the 19th. So you've got plenty of time. You've got until next Thursday to access all the replays. And then I just want to share as well, before I round up, just to take a moment now to really think about the steps that you're taking here and how you're showing up. You're showing up to design your own life, and that's amazing. And you are now taking control of your life. You're starting to get clearer on what it is that you want and the way that you want to live. You might be starting to identify some fixed thoughts or some thoughts that are getting in your way that you think, I need to change the way I think. You're becoming more self-aware and you're making a plan to actually implement the way you want to live your life. Maybe having that glimmer of hope that all of this is possible, that you can do this, you can design your own life. And you're also here with us, meeting amazing people from around the world. So I want to leave that with you, and I want to just remind you that, you can design your own life. It might not happen instantly, but you can. You can keep chipping away at this process. So I can't wait to share the final workshop with you next week, and hopefully my throat is a bit better by then. Take care, everyone. I will go and read all the comments now. And if you're watching the replay, please do comment. We will come back to you. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.